I'm now joined by Arisha Hatch, Vice President over at Color of Change. Arisha, good to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. When you look at these numbers and these results, because the numbers are just so startling, and you saw what the student debt crisis is doing to so many young Black Americans in this country, what were some of the big issues that you saw here?
Thank you so much for having me. I think what our poll shows is that not only is the student loan debt crisis a national economic justice issue, it's also a racial justice issue at its core. Although people attempt to talk about this as an elitist policy that only helps rich people, our studies show that Black women borrow more money when they attend school and hold more student debt than any other group in America. And the folks we polled want to see it resolved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just go through these numbers. It's startling. 56% of Black voters held or hold student loan debt right now. More than a third, 34%, currently have between $15,000 and $50,000 worth of debt, and another 45% hold anywhere between $15,000 or less of student loan debt. This seems like this is cutting into so many people's ability to buy houses, start the next chapter of their life, all of this.
It's exactly what we're seeing. The student loan crisis is deferring dreams for so many, but especially for Black people. More than 70% of the people we polled said they would save for retirement if not for their student loan debt. They would buy a home instead of renting. They would move to a different neighborhood. They would leave a job where they're facing discrimination. They would seek to start their own small business. So many that we polled also chose not to go to college because of the student loan debt crisis. And so what we're seeing is that there are real disproportionate impacts on Black people and other people of color.
The big debate, Arisha, is how much will Democrats and potentially Joe Biden be able to eliminate of the student loan debt? We've seen Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer come out saying that $50,000 needs to be removed. Joe Biden really tempering those expectations. He's really only saying here maybe $10,000 is as much as he thinks he can be able to do here. How significant will that be if this is a voting issue for so many Black voters who, by the way, put Joe Biden in the White House for the 2022 midterms and the 2024 general election?
What we want to see is the Biden administration, as well as members of Congress, being as aggressive and progressive as possible in the things that they're doing to improve people's lives. And so if President Joe Biden can remove $50,000, that's what he should be pushing to do. Not only did Black voters deliver the White House for President Biden and Vice President Harris, they also delivered a majority in Congress for Democrats. And we feel like we won this election. We deserve to have our issues actually dealt with in ways that improve our lives.
And, you know, we talked about the numbers of how many Black students and how much debt that they have. How much also, Arisha, is this contributing to the racial wealth gap in this country as well, when their white counterparts are not dealing with as much debt as possible and they're able to buy houses, start new chapters of their life? Is this really contributing to this wide racial gap that we're seeing in this country?
Absolutely. It's another brick on the house that is the racial wealth gap. So many Black people are prohibited from even beginning to build generational wealth. And the student loan debt crisis is a big part of the reason that that's happening. So often we hear politicians, when they talk to Black voters, they're only talking about things like criminal justice reform or policing. And what we're seeing is that the Black voters that we talk to actually desperately need some form of economic relief, especially in the midst of this pandemic.
Absolutely. And for those viewers who are watching right now, what resources are available for Black Americans who are struggling with student loan debt right now, who just need some sort of advice just to get them through the rest of the day?
Well, where Color of Change's work is really focused on campaigning and advocating for Black people, trying to hold members of Congress and members of the administration accountable to us. You can come and find out more about the campaign that we're running here at www.colorofchange.org and figure out ways that you can take action towards actually achieving student loan debt elimination during this administration.
All right, Arisha Hatch, the Vice President of Color for Change. Good to have you here, and thank you so much for talking about this with us this morning, Arisha.